Yarnivores and Spiderettes, Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today I have a lovely filet stitch that I absolutely adore. This is by Nana's Crochet Creations, and this pattern is called Nana's Sweet as Can Be Baby Blanket. However, with some alterations, you can make this however wide or as narrow as you want to. So the original pattern that I found, it called for a base chain of 95 chains plus a multiple of 18. However, with some tweaking, finagling, and fiddling, I figured out that it's really just a multiple of 18 stitches, 18 chains, plus an additional 5, which, I will explain as we do our tutorial. So you can make this really as wide or as narrow as you want to. You can make this as narrow as a scarf, mid-range as a wrap, baby blanket, whatever dimensions you want, really. Now, for this piece, I used a solid color because I feel that it really makes the filet work pop very nicely. And this is Red Heart Super Saver. For today's example, I'm going to be using some more Red Heart Super Saver. No, not sponsored, but, I like to let you guys know what it is that I use. Also, I used a slightly smaller hook, a size H 5mm hook, to really make these fillet shapes really pop, really get defined. So, with that being said, let's get started. Alrighty, so for the first row, I'm going to set up a base chain. Now, what I did was I did 3 multiples of 18 chains plus my additional 5 chains. So I've got a total of 59 chains. And yes, I'm using my size H 5mm hook, and I've got my worsted weight yarn. So with our chains, we are going to start by doing a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. Now, what I would recommend for your finished piece is to go in through the back bump, because it'll create a much nicer, cleaner edge at the bottom. However, I'm going to break my own rules, and I'm going to go in through the top loop for the sake of ease. So double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So this counts as our first double crochet. Then we've got 2. We need a total of 7. So we've got 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, and we should have 7. Got 4 and got 3. Perfect. All right, so moving right along. Now we're going to create some of our spaces, our chain spaces for our first honeycomb. So chain 1 and skip the next chain going into the next one thereafter with a double. This is all double crochets, which I really like because it makes the pattern very, very simple. So we need a total of 4 of these chain spaces. So after you do your chain and your double crochet, chain another one, skip the next chain going into the next with a double, chain 1, skip the next chain going into the next chain with a double, and we need one more space, so chain 1 and skip the next going into the next with a double, like so. So we've got our 4 chain spaces. Now this first double crochet does count as our first double crochet. We need 10 more double crochets in a row for a total of 11 double crochets. So going right in, and we're going to do 10 more for our total of 11. So we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And of course, I like to double count. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 3 more makes 11. Perfect. Now we need 4 more chain 1 spaces. So chain 1, skip a chain going to the next with a double. Chain 1, skip the next chain going into the next with a double. Chain 1, skip the next chain going to the next with a double. It's all doubles. And chain 1, skip the next going into the next, like so. So we've got the base for another hexagon honeycomb shape. All right, pull out some more yarn. And so again, this is our first double crochet, so we need 10 more once again. So we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. All right. Now we need 4 chain spaces again. So we need to chain 1, skip a chain going into the next. Chain 1, skip a chain going into the next. Chain 1, skip a chain going into the next. And 1 more chain, skip a chain going into the next. And of course I didn't get all my plies. That's okay. That's okay. All right, and now we are at the tail end. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is perfect because we started off with our 7 double crochets. Well, we need to end with our 7 double crochets. So we've got 1 and 2. Hello. I'm spazzing out. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Perfect. All right, so now the reason why I did my piece quite so wide is because if I only did 1 multiple of 18 plus the 5, we would only have 1 hexagon, 1 honeycomb in the center. And I figured that by doing the piece this wide, it would really give you an idea how the repeat works. I'm all about trying to be thorough for you guys. Okay, so with that being said, let's go on to row 2. Alrighty, row 2. Now, I've done this before, this technique. Instead of chaining up 3 to start our new row of double crochets, what I have, really preferred doing for a bit now is to just chain 1, then turn the work, and do a double crochet into this first double crochet. Honestly, I really do think it creates a much nicer, cleaner edge than if you just do a chain of 3 to act as your first double. It's more solid. All right, so I'm gonna start with this double crochet and 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because we're gonna leave this last one alone. So it's going to be a total of 6 doubles. So we've got 2 and 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, chain 1, and we're going to go into the chain spaces and into the doubles as we go along. It's going to be a total of 7 double crochets. So skipping this double crochet, going into the chain 1 space for our first double, and then into the double crochet, and then into the space, and then into the double, into the space, into the double, and into the space. So we should have a total of 7. 2, 4, and 7. Perfect. And this is going to create the first bottom row of our honeycomb. All right, chain 1, skip the next double crochet, going into the next double crochet, and it's going to be, I believe, 8 more for a total of 9 doubles. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. We're going to leave this last one alone because I'm going to chain 1, skip this double crochet, going into the chain 1 space, and 6 more double crochets for a total of 7. So we went into the space, now we go into the double, into the space, into the double, into the next space, into the double, and into the space. So we should have a total of 7 doubles. 2, 4, and 7. Perfect. Alrighty. Chain 1, skip that first double, double crochet, and 8 more for a total of 9. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Perfect. Chain 1, skip this last double crochet of this one. So skip there, going into the chain 1 space with a double, 6 more doubles for a total of 7. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Chain 1, skip the next double crochet, and then going into the next 6 doubles. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 more at the end into this top of the first chain that we did. Be sure to go underneath both loops, like so. And we'll do our double crochet at the end here. Voila. All right, so you can already see how that's going to become the base of one of our honeycombs. Da, 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 da. We're getting there. We are. All right, so onwards to row 3. All right, row 3. Again, going to start by chaining up 1, turn the work, and do a double crochet into that first double crochet. So that counts as 1. And we're going to need 4 more for a total of 5. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And again, we're going to leave this last double alone because it's all about angling the chain 1 spaces. So we've got 5 doubles, chain 1, double crochet into the chain space, so that counts as our first double crochet. And we need to do a double crochet into each of these and 1 into the space over here. So that's going to be a total of 9. So basically it goes 7, 9, 11, 9, 7, you know, in a nutshell. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then into the chain 1 space for a total of 9. And then chain 1. All right, so again, well, we need to make this one go this way. So skipping that first double crochet, going into the next with a double, because we're angling this way now. So we need this one and 6 more, I believe. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Perfect. Chain 1, double crochet into the chain space, and then work our way across this one. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Chain 1, skip the first double going into the next. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Chain 1, skip that last double crochet going into the chain space with a double. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you can really see how it's already starting to form here. 2, 4, 6, and 9. Perfect. Okay. Then, to finish off our row here, chain 1, skip the first double, and then go into the next 5. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Perfect. Okay, so that's the end of row 3. Row 4. All right, this is where things get a little interesting because this is going to be the end of our side hexagons. So I'm going to set it up by chaining up 1, turn the work, and double crochet into that first double crochet just as we have been. And then 1 more double crochet into the next double crochet. So now we need to create some chain spaces at the top of this hexagon. So chain 1, skip a double going into the next, chain 1, skip a double, and going into the chain space. Like so. So now we've got sort of definition on the sides here. Okay. So carrying right along, we already have 1 double crochet. We need 10 more for a total of 11. Like I said, 7, 9. Now we're going into 11. So I've got 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and our 11th is going to go into the chain space. Chain 1. Okay, so now we need to create chain spaces over the top of this half hex here. So after chaining 1, skip the next double, going into the next. Chain 1, skip the next double, going into the next. Chain 1, skip the double, going to the next. And chain 1, skip the double, going into the next. So now, just like we had down here, we had 4 chain 1 spaces. Well, now up here, we have 4 chain 1 spaces. Okay, so this is our first double crochet. We need 10 more, working our way across for a total of 11. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11th goes into the chain space. Okay, so now we need to create 4 more chain 1 spaces at the top here. So chain 1, skip that first double, going to the next with a double. Chain 1, skip the next double, going to the next stitch. Chain 1, skip that next double, going to the next. Chain 1, and skip that next double, going into the chain space with our last double. So again, we have our 4 chain spaces. Okay, we're getting there. All right, so we have our first double. We need 10 more for a total of 11 doubles. So that's 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And now we need our 2 chain spaces at the top of this hex here. So chain 1, skip the first double, going to the next. Chain 1, skip the next double, going into the next. And double crochet into the last double crochet. Voila. All right, so our bottom hexes are finished. Well, now we're going to finish up the top parts of the ones that are growing, okay? So onwards to row 5. All right, row 5. Of course, now, as you know, we're going to be starting by chaining up 1, turning the work, and doing a double crochet into the first double crochet. All right, now a way that you can look at it is we're now going to do the opposite. See, we were shrinking down. Well, now we have to grow back out again. So, going to do a total of 5 double crochets. So we've got 1, and then going to work into the double crochets and into the chain spaces. So I've got 1 and 2, and into the space for 3, into the double for 4, and into the space for 5. Okay, chain 1, skip the first double, going into the next, and we're going to work a total of 9 across. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Chain 1, and we need to skip this next double crochet, and we need to build up our 7 double crochets across here. So after chaining 1, do a double into the chain 1 space. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and into that last space we have our 7 again. Okay, so then chain 1, skip that first double crochet going into the next, and 8 more for a total of 9. So I've got my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Chain 1, skip that double going into the chain space, and 6 more for a total of 7. So I've got 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. Chain 1, skip the first one, going into the next. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, chain 1, skip that last double crochet going into the chain space. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 goes into that last double crochet. There we go. We are getting there. Most indeed we are. Okay, row 6. Start by chaining up 1, turn the work, and double crochet into that first stitch, like so. And again, we need to have this grow outwards, so we need a total of 6 double crochets. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 goes into the chain 1 space. There we go. And like I was saying, it goes from 7 to 9 to 11, back to 9, excuse me, and then back to 7. Well, on the sides here, it's 7, 6, 5, and then it's 5, 6, 7, and so on and so forth. All right, so we have our 6 to begin with. Chain 1, skip that first double going into the next, and then 6 more for a total of 7 across. So I've got 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Chain 1, double crochet into the chain space. We're skipping that last one, going into the space. And we're going to work our way across for a total of 9. This counts as our first one. So I've got 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 goes into the chain space. Chain 1, skip the first, going into the next, and 6 more for a total of 7. So I've got 1 and 2, 3, 4. Oh, I missed a ply. That happens. Just go back. All right, so I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Chain 1. Skip that double crochet going into the space with a double. And we need a total of 8 more for a total of 9 across. So that's 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then into the chain space with the 9th. 9. Perfect. Chain 1, skip the first double, going into the next. And 6 more for a total of 7. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, chain 1, skip that double crochet going into the chain space. It's 1, come on, 2, 3, 4, hello, 5, and 6. Okay. All right, so we've just got one more row, and then we will be done. Well, for the repeat anyway. Alrighty. All right, last but not least, row 7. Start by chaining up 1, turn the work, and double crochet into that first stitch, just as we have been. All right, now like I was saying, that this is the last row of the repeat because the full repeat is rows 2 through 7, and you would just keep doing rows 2 through 7 for as long as you want to. So again, we need to have this row go out a bit. So I've got 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Again, just like our first row, we had 7. Well, now we've got 7 again. Okay, chain 1, skip the first double going into the next, because again, we need 4 chain 1 spaces. Chain 1, skip the next double going into the next. Chain 1, skip the next double going into the next. Chain 1, skip the next double and going into the chain space. So we have our series of 4 spaces once again. And right now we need to make this at its widest, so it's going to be 11, just like we had down on our first row. We need 11 double crochets. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and the 11th goes into the chain space. All right, so now we need 4 more chain 1 spaces. So chain 1, skip the next double, going into the next with the double. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, going to the next with a double. Chain 1, skip the next, going into the next with a double. And chain 1, skip the next, going into that chain space with a double. So again, we've got our 4 chain spaces, nice and pretty. And this counts as our first double. We need 10 more for a total of 11. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 goes into that chain 1 space. Chain 1, skip the next, going into the next. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, going to the next. Chain 1, skip the next, going into that next one. Chain 1, skip that one, and going into the chain 1 space with our last. So we've got 4 more chain 1 spaces. And then last but not least, we need to scoot over this way with 6 more double crochets for a total of 7. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Haha. And there you go. Absolutely gorgeous. You know, even just for a swatch, I love it. So, like I was saying, the full repeat is rows 2 through 7, because it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And 7 and 1 are the same, but you would want to end on a row 7. So you have this nice completed hex, you know, all throughout. Okay? All right. I'll show it a little bit better. 1 second. All right, so we have our full example right here. And as you can see, the edges are nice and solid, as opposed to doing the chain up of 3 on the edges. You know, I think this looks much nicer. I don't know about you guys, but I love it. And I don't think I will ever go back to the old way of doing the chaining up of 3 if I'm just doing doubles. You know, not if I can help it anyway. So listen, I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your support. And you can further support by giving me a little thumbs up button down below to show your appreciation, because I appreciate your appreciation. You know I do. Also, of course, you can hit subscribe for more videos, because I do try to post as often as I can, whether it's crocheting or knitting or audiobook narration, or of course visit my other YouTube channel, Fiber Spider Games, for video game playthrough and commentary. It's a lot of fun. Would like to see you there. Also, the current piece that I'm working on, this lovely purple one, it is not up for sale yet on my Etsy store, although it will be at some point, I hope. So I'm going to put a link to my Etsy store in the description box down below. So, you know, keep posted, you know, take a look every now and then. I will post some new things from time to time, and would love to see you there too. So, until next time, I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, and above all, stay stitching. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.